Oh, hey, guess what? We're in the Stuff.io office.
We're in the same room.
We're in the same room. Yeah, that's it's great to be able to have conversations in person because pretty much everything, or most things in Web3, specifically in Cardano, are digital and online and long distance. So it's cool to just get to. I had a trip planned here, and so we're doing this third video in person, which is great. So Sheila, I haven't given you like a lot of backstory for this because I'm sort of thinking through it myself. So I hope that talking about it, sometimes the processing of it comes together. But really what we're trying to do is put the lid on the workbook piece. That's the most important piece for the conversations with Stuff.
Right.
And through talking with all three of the platforms, I've come to understand that there's a lot of differences between technically what they can offer for like how you can build assessments, quizzes, and reviews and things like that, one. And there's a lot of differences in how they approach the learning process, that's two. And so I was originally thinking I'd make one workbook and just have it work in all platforms, and that would be really straightforward. But I think for the user of the workbook, it's too many elements and moving parts. If you're doing the course on the Olympus Insights platform, you don't want all the stuff about the Andamio approach in there. It's just too much. So then it comes to, should we do 3 workbooks? Does that feel like overkill? What do you think about that? Do you think it makes sense if the assessments are going to be really linked to how the platform works? Does it make the most sense to mint 3? Is that like too much? Like when you do mints like this, do you feel like that approach is going to feel like overkill or feel good?
I don't think it's overkill. I think it's analyzing your audience.
Mm-hmm.
So you could do a workbook that chaptered out, right? So like the first chapter is all the Andamio, the second chapter is all of Olympus. It depends on how their credentialing would work, right? So it's like, are they able to credential if they've finished chapter 1 only, right? Because they don't want to do chapter 2 and 3 because it's 2 other credentials. So it kind of goes back to the credentialing guys, if they could do that. Also, is your audience going to be tech savvy enough to know I only need to do chapter 3. I can skip chapters 1 and 2 because that's not the credentialing that I want. So if it's a baby audience, for lack of a better word, if it's going to be new, they're learning all of Cardano, it might be better to have the 3 different links, and that make it easy. And that way you can put it up on your website of, here's the workbook for this that gets this credential. Here's this. On our side, I mean, it's going to take another hour, right? Like it's not going to be, insane amount of time extra to get those other policy IDs created and minted. So I think if you're approaching it from, we're educating these people that are new, they're coming in new to Cardano, and we're teaching them, we're credentialing them, it might be easier to do it as 3 different ones, right? And then make it very clear on the page of like, these are 3 different credentials, please select the one that you want to do. You are welcome to do all, make it obvious that they can do all. But yeah, I think it's easier. It's thinking, taking it out of Web3 and putting it into other scenarios. It's easier if you go to a platform and you go, I just want that. I just want,
I think that's what Stuff does really well also is you guys think about, okay, sometimes in blockchain we get too heady and too like knowledgeable about things and we forget like most people just need to know where to go and what to do when they get there rather than like all of this knowledge. What I figured out with Max in my last conversation with Max from Wisdom Courses is that I think I'm going to do this across all the platforms actually, is have the free version of the course. So it's just the videos. Like someone might want to come and just watch the videos. Yeah. And you get whatever the platform provides. Like for Ollie, you would get Ollie tokens at the end of it because you did it. Like that's the reward in that ecosystem. But maybe in like lesson 1, we could say, hey, you're about to take this course. It's all videos. If you want an in-depth dive, or if you're thinking you want to teach people in the future, or if you want to take on a bigger role in the community or whatever, or you just like to know that you understood, you can go here and mint this workbook, come back to the platform. You'll be able to see more in this course. So there'll be like the free version, just the video, and then the workbook mint, so that they can actually go further and do all the courses. And then in that version, when they come back with the gated version that requires the workbook, then they can do quizzes and assessments that are specific to what's in the workbook. It doesn't make sense to have those quizzes in the course if someone doesn't have the workbook. It will make no sense.
Right.
So
yeah, I think dealing where we go across 4 different industries and across every amount of education and mindset, that having all options, where you don't want to have to say no to somebody, especially somebody who's willing to learn. You don't want to have any kind of wall that they need to hurdle, right? So if somebody's super timid and they're like, oh, that sounds great, I would love to learn more. Oh, I need to buy something. Oh, I don't know how to do that. That's scary. I don't want to engage, right? And you're like, no, that's the whole point of the course. I'm going to teach you how to do all those things so it's not scary. Just watch this video. It's free, right? So you have the like beginner soft hands of saying yes to everything, of every person who's willing to do it. Now you might get like the headstrong, yeah, I get it. Like, do I get rewarded? And you're like, yes, you do. We have that step, right? You just have to go get the workbook. And then that leads into getting either special credentials or getting rewards, from other people. So it's like you're able to say yes to every aspect of your target audience's spectrum of like, yes, very, very new and scared, to let's dive in deep and then finally reward me, right? So I think that's good if you do like a free video of it.
Okay, so I think that really resolves it, and it will make more sense. Like, someone could do it on all 3 platforms, but the odds are not good that they're going to, because once you do it, you've learned it, right? The content is pretty much the same across. Second question is, this is something I've come across in all 3 platforms, is the need for feedback on assessment. So, for example, like Andamio, they're project-based, so they're certain in their environment, they really don't have quizzes or what's called closed questions. Like, a closed question is something that has a definite answer, like true or false, multiple choice. You can select 1 or 2 things and that's the answer. Whereas an open answer assessment is like, what did you learn about the potential for blockchain to affect your industry? Or what are some things that you can see that blockchain might have application in your own life? Like, that has a subjective and an open response. And so for someone to review that, sometimes completing a reflective question like that in an experiential question is very helpful for you just on your own. But to have someone validate or help you to go further with that response, that takes external input. And as this course is like a free offering, if eventually thousands of people do the course, that's like an overload and someone's waiting and they want to progress. And that's just like more than can be taken on. So we're thinking of having a version where, or a way for someone to be able to opt in for, either by paying for it or by earning it in some way, a time-based opportunity to receive feedback on them. That's also good for accountability because it makes you finish something. Right?
Somebody's going to look it over or grade it or
So TapTools has this thing where I have actually a TapTools subscription because we use the TapTools API on our website. But TapTools also has the option that if you buy, there's a certain NFT that you can purchase, and then the NFT itself is the subscription that allows you to have certain access to certain things on their site. And it's time-based, which is such a cool aspect of an NFT. So I guess the thinking is, I would love to be able to say, okay, you can just get the workbook and do the answers and go through it. And the answers themselves might help you validate. If you're on Ollie or you're on Wisdom courses, you'll be able to do closed answer questions straightforward. If you want to do the Andamio version, you can still complete those and reflect on what your learning has been, and to be able to also complete the projects that are laid out, and you will know that for yourself. But if you want some kind of credential or even just the feedback on how you have done in this course, a credential because you want to take it further and actually do something with that credential, or the feedback because you are interested in having sort of a partner at learning, you could either, here's the question, you could mint a different higher price version of the workbook.
Okay.
Maybe there's 1,000 regular Ondomio workbooks, and there's 100 upper level workbook, and the upper level is like, I want to become a student, and because I've gotten this one, I'm gonna be able to request feedback. Or we mint them all the same, so there's less versions and options of the workbook to deal with. And then when someone has that, if they also purchase an NFT that has that sort of criteria assigned to it, then for that period of time, they can get feedback because we see, oh yeah, you have that in your wallet, and you're your level of user.
Right.
That's one of the ways that I've been thinking about. Also, because a lot of people have subscription models who are in Web 2 education, and they are doing it that way, where they, you pay an amount for a certain amount, or you pay a higher level and like the pro version or whatever, and you get that. So, what are your thoughts there? Do you think it makes sense to mint like a second level version, or do you think that's, the resell is a question there?
Yeah, I mean, and I like your line of thinking of like, well, this is going to be more of the VIP experience, so like put this price point at it. But yeah, the retail or the resell gets tricky, right? Of like, well, I bought it for $1 and now I want all the VIP experience.
Yeah, that's true.
That's not fair, right? So resell, you can kind of put your percentage of whatever you want on there as when you put it into the smart contract, you can say, hey, we actually get 90% of resell, right? So kind of reduce the amount of people who are going to go out there and put it up for $1 and think that they're kind of sticking it to you. So that is definitely an option.
Yeah.
Of doing it that way. You could also just use it instead of having the different levels, and again, thinking of the mindset of people coming in. Like, are they going to understand two different types of tokens to get it? If you do it just as a simple token gating that like leads to your website, and you just see, okay, yeah, you own that, and then have the subscription based on your website that links to, it lets them into buying that extra subscription with you, even if that's buying a if you want it to be an actual token, fine. But it's like you have to have that original one, and then the feedback is an additional thing that they purchase, instead of getting into weird royalty contracts and stuff like that, where people might not understand it, or they might come back and fight you on and be like, what, I sold this and I only got like 10% of my resale. That's the whole point of and so that way you don't have to get into fights with degens who are gonna want to flip these things and want to make the money, and go into the whole smart contract education with them. He's like, no, this is actually like we're allowing this to be.
Take our smart contract course.
Yes, exactly. Oh no, another token. So I think you do the one, and then at that, when you finish that workbook, at the end it says, would you prefer a personalized VIP experience for feedback situation, and give them the option of if it's just going to Crypto Fluency and going through your website that way, of a subscription model that way, or it leads to being able to purchase a feedback token, but it's token gated, right? They have to own that first one in order to buy the feedback token. So either way, okay, they've bought it, they've taken the course, and now they're dedicated enough to want the feedback. But
I can see that you might use the policy ID, even if you're like, okay, you could do something so simplistic for people who are brand new to it. Like, let's say someone comes over from Web 2 into Web 3, and they're like, okay, I don't 100% get everything, but there's enough things that are familiar here. Like, you can book a calendar invite, but you have to put your policy ID in there to be able to have that meeting. And then it's only confirmed when someone checks, okay, that policy ID does, because you're not having that many of them, right? You only mint a certain amount that you think that you could actually deal with on a period of time. That makes, I think, the most sense, because you tie it to a period of time, then okay, over these 3 months, I'm taking on 50 people.
Right. And you can cut it off when you hit that 50, right? Instead of like, oh gosh, like all these people came and bought a subscription. It's like, no, that way, you can cut it off and say, I've got time to mentor hands-on 10 people.
Yeah.
And you can continuously open it up. Hey, have you ever taken this course? We've got, hands-on mentoring open for the next, 3 months, and we're taking on 25 new students. I might have been in Web3 for, 7 years at that point and be like, you know what? I really don't understand. I want to maybe start my own L2. I want, that kind of mentoring of it, even if you started out super new and you waited a while,
right,
and then you wanted that mentoring, I still need to have that policy ID. I still need to own that workbook,
right,
in order to get the mentoring.
Totally.
But it skips that whole step of, coming and being like, dear Crypto Fluency, can you please mentor me? Right?
I want to talk with you.
I would love to talk. Please have time for me. It's like, I'm a verified customer of yours. Here's the proof. And it skips that. It kind of gets you to the front of the line,
right,
of getting that hands-on mentoring.
People are going to find out that we do all silly voices if they watch this video. You're going to understand what we do.
Whoopsie daisies.
I think that's it. This process has been so great for me and I think it's such a testament to how we all need to collaborate with each other in this environment, because you can only, the idea for a lot of this came through these conversations, and the refining and the figuring out of them came through these conversations. If I sit by myself and think about it, you hit brick walls that sometimes are easy to overcome if you are in conversations with people about it.
I mean, that's the whole point of Web3. And as you guys are learning all of this and continuing your Web3 journey, it is opening up so many different doors that don't exist in our normal web. So we have to be super creative in marketing and fan engagement and recycling your audience, which a lot of times you don't get the privilege to do. You sell, you don't know who you sold it to.
Totally.
End of story.
Yep.
On to next thing that you're selling, right? So we get the privilege of recycling our audience and really building proper fan bases and creating true passion for, a project, or passion for a certain asset, maybe a band, maybe a movie, whatever it is, that now we have to sit there and have these types of conversations and go, what could we do if you know who your audience is?
Right.
And you have the ability to airdrop them things, and, how do we get more interaction? How do you sell the next thing but reward them for their loyalty and, continue that? So it only happens in these types of conversations because these are conversations that weren't ever had before.
Right.
We sold and you went on, right? You targeted your audience, you sold. You might be able to do some analytics, but you don't know the very next day who still owns that t-shirt, right? They could have all gone and sold it or thrown it away, whatever. Web3, man, you still know who owns your stuff, who are your fans, who are following you, who has actually read your book, who has actually listened to your album. So it's only through these types of conversations with all of you, right? It is constantly evolving in ideas and bright new epiphanies of wait a second, we could, get to the 7th level of engagement and then create a whole new thing and give that to them, but it's never going to be for sale. They have to have all these other aspects, and it's super cool, but it's only done through engagement. You can't just lay in your bed and not talk to people and not have these conversations. Because
Get out of bed.
Get out of bed. And because it's all new, so we have to have brainstorming, and sometimes we're wrong. Sometimes we have to bounce it off and go, that didn't really work. A/B testing still happens in Web3, right? So it's oh well, our audience really didn't care about that aspect. What could we do differently? Why did this mint out in 6 seconds and this stay for sale and never mint out?
Right.
What was the difference in those sales? What was the difference in those assets? Did we offer different things in marketing? Okay, now we sit here and talk about it. So it's only possible through these types of conversations.
I want to come back to an epiphany, since I feel like we solved all the things we came here to talk about today. Do you want to show people the jersey?
Oh, it's only on my phone.
No, on your body.
Oh, on my body. Okay. So
We'll start it. We can show them both.
So this is the McKinney Chupacabras. This is the new downtown historic McKinney soccer team. football team for the rest of the world who calls it football. It is a USL Division II team, brand new this year. So Stuff.io is supporting it as a community member here, but it is going to be an amazing case study of sports fan engagement. So you guys are probably going to hear me talk about it way too much, but this will lead to being on big stages, sitting next to your Champions League finals team as well, of here's how you engage your 25 million fans on Instagram, right? So this is going to be a great case study of how to take digital monetization of your fan engagement. Yes, you can link it to actual physical fan engagement as well, but how can everybody in the world be a Chupacabras fan? So we're going to do some fun kind of initial Genesis tokens that will get them discounts that will lead on for life on all the possible discounts that they can get, all the benefits that they can get. And that would be a limited amount, right? So that's going to be your limited collection that hopefully will then hit the secondary market and turn into amazing resales throughout the decades of like, oh, you got the original Chupacabra. We're going to do a whole bunch of AI generated crazy mythical Chupacabra images. And so yeah, that'll lead into, we've got the Stuff.io stage. So that will go for our music side. So all the music acts that are performing before the games will have QR codes where you can mint their music while you're listening to them. So again, monetizing your entertainment before and during a game. Like, how many sports teams get to do that?
Awesome.
None, right?
Yep,
like even if you're like selling the CD in front of it, it's usually just the band selling the CD. How often does the team get to, actually benefit from that as well? They want to do some player cards, so video player cards.
Oh, one of those.
Yeah, so you like collect the whole team, and it would not just be your traditional baseball card. Like, it's going to be a Stuff.io media token, right? So it's going to have probably stats on it, but it's going to have highlights. Maybe we do it after this season, and we have all the goals that person scored throughout the year.
That's so cool.
Awesome.
That's so cool.
Highlights of them, blocking shots and anything that was amazing throughout the year that they did. So then you have like a video player. You have a baseball card that you're hitting play on. Like, how cool is that?
That's so cool.
And then again, you collect the whole team. That adds up to discounts for other things. They have a physical store, so if you walk into the store, show that you have, these actual tokens, cool. You get, a free t-shirt if you own the whole team, or you get discounts if you own the whole team. So there's so many different ways to engage your fans that this is going to be a great case study for, and it's only the start of all the brainstorming, right? We haven't even gotten into how do we go and take advantage of all of their social media following. Because of the name Chupacabras, they have a worldwide like paranormal following where people don't even care about the sport. They're like, I want that I want that logo. I want all the hats. I want all the jerseys that you make. So it goes into a lot of like minor league baseball a concept of marketing, right? Where you're very community based, and you're going to have a really funny logo that you hope people buy, a lot of merchandise with. But this is, kind of a crazy mythical figure that people are like, oh, we could do super cool stuff of like all these crazy dogs. And so it's going to be super cool of like, how do we engage the worldwide following of just because of their name, of turning that around, of, what we do of like revenue per follower instead of revenue per seats in the butt, or sorry, I said that wrong, butts in seats, which is what teams do now. And it's like, how many people have actually traveled to Rome and sat their butt in a soccer stadium there, right? They could have been the biggest fan since they were 3 years old, but they're like, I can't travel that far. I can't spend that money to get there. So there's so many millions of those fans for every team that never actually get to come to the home of their team. Yeah. And now this gets every fan on the same level, to be the same level of participant, the same level of super fan as the person who just happens to live in that hometown and gets to go to every game. And it's like, well, what makes them a better fan than me? That's not fair.
Totally.
Blockchain solves that. Blockchain makes fans completely equal. So super cool.
You have to pull up the jersey and show it to them since.
Okay.
Pull it up. But I was going to say is the whole time you're talking, I'm thinking just how we went out to get coffee today and how many, like 2 people in the span of like an hour were like, wow, I'm so excited about your shirt, about everything you guys are doing. The youth pastors bringing this whole youth group to the team, to the game. It's just cool. So I'm showing the jersey.
So we've got the warm-up jersey. So if you're a Stuff.io fan, you can actually wear a soccer jersey. Is that picking up on the camera at all?
Yeah, looks pretty good.
So well, we will share links and all that kind of stuff.
That's gonna be cool.
That will be super cool. Of turning worldwide fandom into monetization for these teams, which is something that we're able then to think how many sports are out there, how many players, how many teams, right? So it's like this can be a great section of Stuff.io that really launches huge this year with us.
Get out of bed, guys. Get out of bed. There's things happening. Things are happening.
So much happening.
I think we did it in this video.
I like
what do you
it.
think?
Yeah.
We did a lot. I think we should come back later and talk about everything that happens with this.
Okay.
The whole new venture with sports because
so many options.
I want all the business or the cards you can press play.
Yeah.
What? So
right?
Yeah. All right.
So cool.
Thank you for this time.
Of course.
I got to hang out all day. It was fun. It's so exciting to be in the Stuff office. There's always like a billion things going on. It's like such a cool space. Everyone's fun. So, thank you guys. I feel like this is like one of the last videos in this series. So after this, we're going to get to work like finalizing and minting, which is going to be really fun. And I hope that everyone who watches this series really gets inspired with ideas, whether you have a minor league baseball team in your town or whether you coach Little League or whatever the thing is, whether you are an author, whether you're an educator, or whether you just would love to own your own books, like all of those things. There's space for all those people in this process. And, come with your creativity because this is a new era of conversations we've never had before.
Right.
So you should be part of one of those.
Yes, please.
Bye.
Bye.